Chapter 6: Death in Paradise. Many people come to my small island to die. This is called retirement. Though the island's population has been growing younger in recent years, the largest demographic remains those in the twilight of their lives. The majority of retirees, admittedly, on all levels except the biological, are already dead when they get here. Some of these revive a little from the ocean breezes and year-round sunshine, and a lucky few manage, in the late autumn of their lives, to enter what the Japanese call a second spring. This is typically a brief window with an adolescent charm, characterized by spending money unwisely, dressing in poor taste, driving convertible sports cars, dating and sometimes marrying the wrong people, and generally making a happy fool of oneself. My wish for those of us beginning to gray and sag, may we all be blessed enough to enjoy a second spring before our winter sets in. All too often, setting leaf blowers and country music aside for the moment, it's ambulance sirens that provide the sobering soundtrack to life in a retirement community. Last year, half a dozen seniors I knew passed away within earshot of my residence. 3 of them I knew by name. I saw one, Melissa, a tomboyish septuagenarian with a full mane of shimmering gray hair, smacking the daylights out of tennis balls on the courts next door the afternoon before she passed. It's easy to consider oneself immune to such outcomes. In at least one sense, most adults remain teenagers to the bitter end with our studiously distracted denial of our mortality. But as Jim Morrison reminded us, nobody gets out of here alive. This truth was brought home in a totally unexpected way just a few weeks back. For 3 months, from early December to early March, when the mercury dips and the ocean temperatures become too chilly for comfortable body surfing, even with a wetsuit, to stay in shape I add lap swimming to my regimen of Pilates and bicycling. There's an indoor saltwater pool across the street I use a couple times a week during this season. Sometimes I'm the only one in, or even, since there's no lifeguard, around the pool. Other times it's so crowded I'm reminded of the French municipal pools I used to swim in decades ago when I first lived abroad, in which lap swimming was a contact sport. Like those frog ponds, my local pool has no lane dividers, making jam-packed days truly swim at your own risk. In a past life, I must have been a fish, because I'm willing to put up with just about anything to get my swim fix. This doesn't mean I don't sometimes turn surly, especially when someone not just gets but stays in my way. I've been known to deliver withering stares through befogged goggles, breathlessly sputter words of a most unkind nature, even, when sufficiently riled, spew forth the occasional expletive. On this particular occasion, I was fortunate enough to be alone in the pool for the first half of my mile-long swim, at which point I was joined by an elderly woman in an indigo one-piece who, rather than swimming, decided to float on her back at the steps with her spindly, pale legs outstretched into my lane. Initially, I thought this annoyance would pass as soon as she got bored enough to do something else, like swim. But she must have bobbed in my way like a gangly flotation device for 20 minutes as I stroked back and forth, growing ever more indignant at what I perceived to be the usual touristic obliviousness. At length, chafed but having managed to hold my tongue, I finished my laps, removed my goggles, and stood stretching within an inch of the woman's bunion toes. I noticed she was clinging to the diagonal rail beside the steps, but didn't think much of it, until she addressed me on my way up out of the pool. "I'm having a bit of a hard time here," she said in a Midwestern accent, upturned blue eyes wide with fright. "I can't seem to become vertical. Would you mind helping me, please?" "What do you mean you can't become vertical? Can't you pull yourself up?" "No. I've been trying, but I can't seem to make it work. You see, I just had brain surgery and didn't realize my motor skills had been affected this way." It finally penetrated my thick skull that the woman hadn't been floating all this time. She'd been drowning. "How can I help?" "Pick me up." Fearing a lawsuit if I accidentally dropped her, I positioned myself on the steps with one hand under her back and the other under her head. I fancied I could feel the scar from her surgery through her thinning, wheat-colored hair as I awkwardly lifted her to a sitting position. After giving her a moment to get her bearings, I helped her to her feet on the cement pool deck. "That was strange," she gasped. "I believe that's an understatement. Are you okay?" "I think so. Thank you." "You're welcome. Would you like me to get someone?" "Just my husband. He's outside, in the hot tub." I never learned the woman's name, nor have I seen her again. I have no idea whether she was a tourist or a local. Her geriatric husband, nearly as fragile in appearance as his wife, shuffled in looking for her while we were still talking. Shaken from my unexpected encounter with death, I grabbed my towel and headed for the dressing room, considering what the husband might have found had he arrived just a few minutes later and had I not been there. As macabre as this thought was, it occurred to me there are far worse ways to die than bathed like a fetus in warm salt water. Personally, I pray I give up the ghost shredding A-frames, having just completed my artistic masterpiece at the tender age of 99.